Hello again, class. This is Vince Parks. I wanted to take a few minutes of your time this week to talk about acronyms. I know our speech is supposed to be about a memorable incident, I'll call it, in my life. That mine definitely revolves around the a little mix-up in acronyms, which resulted in, for me, in getting a really good job that when we really get down to it, I probably shouldn't have got. I absolutely love telling this story to all of my managers. They usually get a pretty good kick out of it because in the end, it turned out all right. So to start with, I'll give you a little more background on myself. Um, I currently work in the power generation services. Prior to that, I worked in aviation, helicopters mainly. Now, the acronym I'm going to talk about, the one that really drives the story, is PLC. And in the aviation world on helicopters, a PLC is a pitch link controller or control rod. Now, when I interviewed for my job, the manager asked me if I had any experience with PLCs. My answer was yes. I deal with them on almost a daily basis. You know, making adjustments, calibrations, just different, tasks we may do to these. Well, apparently, on a wind turbine, the PLC that the interviewing manager was actually referring to was a programmable logic controller. Basically, a computer that will run a power plant or any piece of machinery. You put in a system, it watches for inputs and outputs. It makes decisions based on, the programming in it. Completely different than a mechanical linkage pitch link control rod like I thought he was talking about. And this interview actually got pretty interesting because, for one, I was interviewing for a job for wind turbines, which I admittedly have never worked on. And in fact, that manager asked, well, do you have any experience on wind turbines? My reply, because I'm an honest guy, I wasn't going to lie to him, I said no. But I have, spent almost 8 years working on helicopters, and although I've never been on a wind turbine, the design principle looks a lot like a helicopter turned sideways. His response to this was, I don't have any experience working on helicopters, but I can see where you're coming from there. And he ended up giving me, I got the job, and for the job, I had to come to a 2-month long training session through the company where they, go over the company specific design of the wind turbine and how to be a field engineer on on this company's product. And I get there, and about 5 days into the class, we were scheduled to do PLCs. And the instructor starts going over this presentation, and I'm looking at it, and I looked kind of confused. And he asked me a question. He says, Vince, are you not picking up on something? I said, yeah, this is a computer. I thought we were talking about PLCs. And he says, we are, programmable logic controller. And I said, no, a PLC is a pitch link control rod. And that was the first time I got to tell the story of my confusion in that. And so I find it hilarious because I essentially lied at a job interview and ended up with a $100,000 a year job. Now, was I lying or just a big confusion? To me, it was a confusion. My managers now really get a kick out of it because I turned out to be a really, really good field engineer on the wind turbines. And truth be told, on a General Electric design wind turbine, it is absolutely nothing like a helicopter. Just completely different. But that's, I've learned a lot about acronyms. Anybody that's been in the military has, could probably rattle off 200 or 300 acronyms, and they would know the meanings to them. Me, I may or may not know them. My company actually has a book, dedicated strictly for acronyms. And in fact, because the acronyms are such a problem with our company, we have it's an instant messenger internal on our network, and there is what they call an acronym bot. So if anytime you see an acronym in an email that you're not familiar with, you can type it in, and it will give you the definition of it per the company. Sometimes they overlap. Still to this day, the PLCs have not been updated to reflect, a mechanical device and a computer device. But that's just that's my story, my very memorable story of how one little mix-up could, go really good or really bad. For me, it worked out really well. And don't ever be ashamed to ask what an acronym means, because you could be in the same shoes as my manager, and it could turn out that I wasn't a very good technician, but for them I was, so it worked out for everybody. All right, well, I've gone well over my time, so I won't take up any more of your time. Thank you very much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed my story.